We've all heard of the midlife crisis. There are all kinds of stereotypical images that accompany this syndrome, including shiny red cars, facelifts, hair transplants. What we're actually talking about here is the phenomenon of the midpoint dip. The midlife crisis was first coined in 1965 by a Canadian psychoanalyst named Elliot Jacques. Jacques wrote that there are critical phases which have the character of change points, or periods of rapid transition. He came to that conclusion after observing the deaths of artists like Mozart, Raphael, Dante, and Gauguin. That the crisis happens at 35 years old. Hold the phone. 35 is midlife? Does it mean that it all goes downhill from here? According to Jacques, when we hit our midlife crisis, we see the end is nigh, or nigher than it was for the first half of our lives. Researchers observed in a study of more than 500,000 Americans and Europeans that there was indeed a slump that occurred across the spectrum, a low point that begins around 35 and continues to dive until one hits the ripe old age of 50. Additional studies confirm that in at least 72 countries, human beings have reported the same dip in life satisfaction, whether you're from Albania or Zimbabwe. But the midlife crisis isn't the only midpoint crisis. We humans have a midpoint problem. We encounter a midpoint turning point in all kinds of activities, whether you're running a race or saving for retirement or sitting in a meeting. Now, this moment can go one of two ways. You hit that midpoint in the meeting and suddenly you become laser focused. Quit waffling around and you get some actual work done. On the other hand, it might be that when you hit that midpoint, when you're dieting and say to hell with it and you go back to the pantry for 3 more of those Oreos, 3 more of those sleeves of Oreos. The struggle is real. You see the stretch in front of you and you begin to rethink your priorities. In Daniel Pink's book, When, he describes this moment as an oh no or an uh-oh. We slow down or we speed up. In his book, Pink went into detail about one study done by Jonah Berger of the University of Pennsylvania and Devin Pope of the University of Chicago. They took a look at more than 18,000 NBA games over 15 years. They noticed a trend. Generally, if a team was ahead at halftime, they would end up winning the game. But there's one exception to the rule. If the team was behind by only 1 point, and they were the home team, they'd end up winning 58% of the time. And they'd come back with a vengeance, gaining momentum and scoring more points in the second half than the first. They could almost taste victory, and so they brought everything they had. So what do we do with all this? There's no conclusive evidence as to why we behave this way. It's just one of those odd human being things. But now that we know about it, let's take advantage of it. Do you feel yourself slowing down at the midpoint? Set yourself a mini midpoint goal. Allow yourself to almost taste victory. Reignite your drive by setting smaller, more manageable goals to get you past the hump. Sit down and clarify exactly why you're working for this, what it means to you, how your life would change, and how the lives of others would be improved if you reached this goal. But if you're one of those who gets pumped and energized at the midpoint, well, may the wind be always at your back, my friend. But here's where I'll leave you. Check out this chart. Remember that slump that happens at 50? Check out what happens afterwards. That slump is a moment in time, a crisis, but not a death sentence. So when we come to this midpoint, halfway through a personal project or a midlife realization or midway to saving for that vacation, whatever it might be, isolate this moment in time to ground you. And remember that if you keep on keeping, the good times are still to come. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Be well.